are you?
I'm the doctor.
My dog, my dog, my dog, my dog. I've got a dog. I love my dog. He's my dog. He's not your dog. If you want a dog, it's your own.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. Welcome to the big season overview / ranking of the episodes video, the final video of the season. To a degree, I'm going to do a few more videos that touch on some things that this season talked about a bit more, but this is sort of like my little personal season finale, the first season of Doctor Who, first full season of Doctor Who that I've ever reviewed, and this is just going to be like a capper to kind of tie off any loose ends, say anything I forgot to say. Maybe my opinions changed on a few of these episodes. Maybe I have a higher or a lower opinion of some of them. And what are my thoughts on how this season worked out overall, and my hopes and fears for the future. So, I figured since this is like my season finale, I figured I'd dress for the occasion.
Black tie. Whenever I wear this, something bad always happens.
Because after all, as we all know,
bow ties are cool.
So anyway, without further ado, let's move on. First of all, please like and subscribe if you like what I'm saying here. If you like what's going on with this channel, like, subscribe, ring the bell so you don't miss future updates, of which there will be many. I have so many videos planned in the near future here. I just want to give a couple of quick shout outs to just a couple of minor things that as I was watching my reviews, I realized I just didn't mention these things, or they got dropped to the cutting room floor because of timing or whatever. So I just want to call out, first of all, that Gabriel Wolf, even though I did not love the modern iteration of Sutekh from a design and characterization standpoint, I gotta give props to Gabriel Wolf. He did an amazing job. His voice is so intimidating, and just the way he plays with the words and lets them roll around in his mouth and hiss them out. He's so good at being the villain voice. And also, Gabriel Wolf was apparently the voice of the Beast in the Satan Pit from the second season, the David Tennant episode. So he did an amazing job there.
I'm behind you, Toby. I'm right behind you.
And then he came back and he did Sutekh again, which is just really awesome. So I love that he came back, and I think he knocked it out of the park.
All life is my enemy, and everything will perish at my hand.
And the other shout out I just want to make really quickly is Lenny Rush as Morris was great. I realized I didn't even mention him at all in either of the reviews because there's just so much stuff going on in those finales, and he kind of slipped between the cracks. But as far as just him as a character, I think Lenny Rush is really hilarious. I saw him on Taskmaster. That's my introduction to him. Kid geniuses can be really annoying if you don't handle them right, but I feel like he just has this genuine vibe to him where he's funny and he's snarky, but he isn't annoying. He's actually very charming.
This thing is running way beyond maximum.
Should we stop?
No way.
I'm not sure what happened to Shirley, the other scientific advisor. That's a little odd that she disappeared. And I liked her too, but Lenny Rush, I really like him, and I'd be totally down to see more of his character either on Doctor Who or the unit spinoff that's coming in. So I just wanted to call out those two actors. I think I just didn't quite give them the accolades they deserved in my review. So I'm calling that out now. Okay, so now without further ado, let's do the fun thing, the thing that I like to do, which is putting things in a list. So rather than grading it with the modern A to S tier system, I'm going to grade it like a public school English teacher. As in, we're going to go A to F. A to F. There's no S tier. There is a secret S tier in my head, but the episodes that go into S tier, they need to sit there and cook for months, possibly years, before they're allowed through the gates into the S tier. So a lot of episodes that are A's could potentially crack the S at some point in the future. But for now, we're only going A to F. That's the best you can do. If you get an A, we're not even doing A+. If you get an A, that means you're great. We're gonna rank these babies to best. So we're gonna start with the obvious contender for last place. I imagine this is not a surprise to anyone, ever. But Space Babies does in fact come in last place in my ranking. I gave it a C- in my initial review. I'm going to stick with a C-. I was playing around with pushing it down to a D+, but I feel like that's a little too harsh. And there are much worse Doctor Who episodes out there. And because there are worse Doctor Who episodes out there, and I grade on a curve where I take all of Doctor Who into account, they bolster Space Babies up to a C-. But honestly, just as a regular episode of television, as an entertainment value thing, I felt like this fell drastically short of expectations. I feel like this was possibly the single worst decision that Russell T. Davies and the production crew made when putting this season together. Making Space Babies in the first place, and then making it your first episode, the jumping on point to the brand new season of Doctor Who that was meant to explode into a big, wide, global audience, pull in the Americans, get a bigger crowd going. You're naming it Season 1. So what is Season 1, Episode 1? Space Babies. The most juvenile, childish, weirdest episode of Doctor Who I've seen in a long time. So Space Babies, no bueno, not a fan. Moving on. In next place, we've got The Legend of Ruby Sunday / Empire of Death. Now, when there are two-part stories in Doctor Who, they feel like they're two halves of a whole story, and I just rank them together. And that works out anyway because I feel the same way. I feel like at the end of the day, both of these episodes are about the same level of quality. They both have different flaws and different strengths, but they're in about equal abundance. I might say that the second part is a little worse just because of how disappointing it is. But overall, this was a very lackluster, disappointing, irritating, bad finale. Sorry, it goes in the bad bucket. It is not a good finale of Doctor Who. It did not pay off the mystery in a satisfying manner. In fact, it just revealed that the mystery the whole time was a lie and that the showrunner thought he was clever by subverting our expectations and wrote a smug speech about how clever he was and how silly we were for following the breadcrumbs that he laid out. All these, I'm just going to give you the gist. I'm not going to go in. You can watch a whole review, just watch me rant for 30 minutes or whatever about why I didn't like the finale. But I gave them both a C+ in my last review. I've thought about it more. I'm knocking them down to C's. These are almost definitively C Doctor Who finale. Like straight up, they are aggressively down the middle in mediocrity. They have some emotional highs, but they have so many plot holes and pitfalls and annoying moments that they all collapse like the House of Cards that they are in the end. So moving on to number 6, we have The Devil's Cord. The Devil's Cord was better than Space Babies, but still very disappointing and full of flaws in my opinion. I think it starts out really well and then slowly falls apart as the episode continues. It has some fun moments, it has some fun musical things, but I really don't like the representation or lack of representation of the Beatles, should I say. Ringo and George don't even get a line. Those guys are also prolific, amazing, genius artists, not just Paul and John. Any real Beatles fan will tell you that. I didn't like the portrayal of the Beatles. I didn't like how little of a role, how little they interacted with the Doctor, how they just came in and played a chord and never even had a conversation. And that Twist of the End song is awful and really, really annoying. So C+. C+. Better than Space Babies. The Doctor and Ruby look fantastic, but very, very mid episode with a lot of problems. Okay, next up, number 5 on the list, we have The Church on Ruby Road. I'm including this in the season because Disney Plus included it as part of the season, wisely I think, because it's much better to start the season on Ruby Road than on Space Babies. That being said, Church on Ruby Road has unfortunately fallen in my esteem post-finale, because if you watch Church on Ruby Road again, unfortunately, the whole plot revolves around stoking the mystery and planting the seeds that turn out to be overt lies to the reveal at the end of the season. So when you watch, the entire episode is all about who's Ruby's mother, what happened at the church, why is there a mysterious hooded woman there, why is it all supernatural. That's the whole story. There's also the goblin thing and the babies and the meet cute between the Doctor and Ruby. That's all the good stuff. Well, the goblins, I mean, okay, I don't know. The song's not great. Getting stabbed in the stomach was kind of cool, although very violent. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. I give it a B+ at the time because I was riding the high of the new Doctor, and I was excited, and then Judy was giving a really great performance, and I liked Ruby, and all that was good. So it still warms your heart and has fun moments and genuine, cool chemistry and character interactions going on, but it's just much less fun to watch now knowing how the mystery plays out. It really weighs it down. So I'm knocking this one down from a B+ to just a B grade. Okay, moving up to number 4, we have Dot and Bubble. Dot and Bubble was an interesting episode. It was the one that I honestly struggled the most with to write a review that coherently expressed my opinions on it, because I got the most blowback on this one too. So here's the deal. I really liked the concept. I think it is a cool episode in a lot of ways, but I think I figured out why the ending doesn't land for me. And the reason is not because I'm some racist asshole who doesn't like seeing the Doctor being upset about racism. It's not that at all. I completely agree with and appreciate the messages being said at the end here. That these people who are incredibly entitled and sheltered and vapid are also racist because they're ignorant and they're so full of themselves and so sheltered they don't realize how they're gonna go die. And they won't take the man's help because they're racist and he's black. That's a very powerful message. I think what happened with this was simply that the episode did not prime me emotionally to be taken in that final scene. Because the entire episode has a very dark sense of humor where it's a satire about the vapid, empty nature of people who live their lives in a filter bubble on the internet, right? And the entire episode, even though like all these horrific things are happening, everyone's death is kind of played for laughs. The entire episode is a satirical joke about that, and you were kind of primed to not really care about any of the characters or what's happening with these people throughout the entire episode. Except for the singer character, they obviously do a lot of work to make him very likable and empathetic. So you do care about him, and then he gets killed. And who does he get killed by? Ultimately, he gets sacrificed by the main character, the very dislikable main character who's been following the whole episode. When you have an entire episode that is putting my brain into that dark, death is funny kind of vibe, you can't just end the episode and turn around and give the Doctor this really heartfelt, emotional moment where he's sobbing about wanting to save these people when A, you've just primed me for the entire episode to laugh about these people dying and not take their deaths seriously, and B, you presented this particular main character as being an utterly despicable person who not only sacrifices the one likable good person in the story and doesn't seem to care about it, but is also a super smug racist. Like, I do not care. At the end of the day, it's just, I don't care about them. I care about the Doctor, but the Doctor will get over this. That's kind of how I'm feeling when I watch him. Like, I mean, he's left a lot of other people behind in the past anyway. And then finally, I think what happened here was it just doesn't feel connected to the rest of the story. It feels like these actors came in and did this scene in a vacuum. And I learned about how this was actually Nshudi's very first day on set. This is the first scene he films. And it kind of clicks in my head because I'll be honest, I love Ncuti Gatwa's performance in this whole season. But there were a couple of moments where I feel like he came off a little bit hammy. He hammed it up a little bit too much. He went a little overboard. Maybe he was directed to do so, but there are a few moments in the series. I mean, come on, he cries in every episode. That's just too much. When he cries in every episode, it does deaden the impact to a degree. And by the time we got to this episode, I think I was just, you really needed to sell me on the emotions to make me care about the Doctor crying yet again. When he cries about Rogue, I feel that. When he cries about these space races, I don't care. It just feels a little bit empty. A lot of the season feels a little bit empty, to be honest. Again, I blame the truncated nature of the season, but it feels like a lot of emotional beats and moments in the season don't quite hit as hard as they should, because they feel like they are not quite earned by the time you get there. And then it feels like the writers and the directors tried to make up for that by pulling really big, like, messy, emotional performances out of Ncuti in every episode. It feels like they kind of really leaned heavily on the actor to sell the emotional stakes and the depth of the season that was not quite there. Anyways, I think that's the take that probably the most of you will disagree with, and more power to you, because this is the opinion that I question the most in my head. It confuses me the most. I generally like sci-fi stories that have social messages and maturely deal with issues like racism and so forth. I normally applaud that. And I applaud the message of this episode, but it just, from a staging, a directing, a writing, an acting standpoint, it just did not hit for me. It just didn't land. It's that simple. You are welcome to like that scene. I completely respect your opinion. I don't think you're wrong for having a different opinion from my subjective opinion. More power to you. But that was the way I felt. That's the way I took it. But I will say that on a rewatch, I disliked the ending a little bit less. I guess my expectations were lowered. I was just more used to it. And I was able to appreciate the overall story a little more. So I am going to bump the grade of Dot and Bubble. I give it a B- before. I'm going to bump that up to a B. I think it is a solid B story. I think it has a really cool sci-fi concept. I think it just stumbles a bit in some of the way it ties things up at the end. I think it just stumbles in my eyes. Okay, so now we're moving into the good stuff. These top 3 stories that I have, I think these are all excellent bangers. These are the cream of the crop of this season. These are the 3 that I feel like really, for the most part, sang. They all have little flaws. There was no perfect episode this season, as rarely there are. But these are the 3 that I feel blessed to now have in the Doctor Who library, okay? So what are they? Which one's going to go to the top? This was really hard for me. I feel like this one barely squeaked into number 3, and any of these 3 could, depending on the time of day and the mood I'm in, could be the top spot. Okay? So, coming in at number 3 is Boom. I know, Boom seems like it could or should be number 1 because it's really good. And it feels very Doctor Who-y. And it has a cool concept. It's a bottle episode. It's a little different, but it also is super Doctor and Ruby centric. I think it might be Ncudi's best performance in the season. This one or one of the other episodes, it's one of his season best performances, no question. Moffat's back in his groove, because when he's not having to share one an entire season, when he's just doing individual little stories that he gets to work on and finesse, it seems like he really kills it. He's clearly one of the best Doctor Who writers of all time. I don't love all of his seasons. In fact, I stopped watching Doctor Who for a while because of how weird one of his seasons got, but I eventually came back. But as far as I cannot deny the power and the quality of his stories, and Boom was an excellent story. Really cool concept, lots of emotional moments. Has an anti-capitalism message, which I'm all about. Fuck the man, right? So I dug that one. That was a good one. I give it a very strong B+. Almost an A-, but I feel like it kind of loses the thread and gets a little silly by the end. There's a few iTunes slideshows and some awkward staging and some goofy, crazy AI flying through, medical cords into computers and shutting off an entire mega corporation's entire system. It gets a little crazy at the end for me. But that's just what brought it down a little bit for me into B+ territory. But it's an excellent story. So now we're down to the top 2. Who's number 1? Who do you think is number 1? Who do you think should be number 1? You're saying it's Boom and I already screwed it up. Okay, fair enough. But here's who I think is number 2, which will tell you who number 1 is. Number 2 is Rogue. 2 is Rogue. Not 73 yards. It's Rogue. They're real close, but at the end of the day, my heart is telling me my favorite 73. Rogue is super close second. Rogue is excellent. Rogue is really fun. It's really charming. It's snappy. I think it's the most well-paced episode of this season. Just as I felt like scenes had room to breathe. You had some nice conversations. You had some fun action. You had some kooky aliens and some mystery and a really emotional moment. And you really built up and made us love this character. And I feel like the chemistry was just real between 15 and Rogue. I felt like it was there, and I liked the character, and I liked him, and I liked them together, and there you go. You have me rooting for the romance, and you have me crying when the guy gets lost. And I really love the hug at the end between Ruby and 15. I feel like that's might be the strongest moment, most genuine moment of their friendship is that scene. So I just really liked it. It felt like a good old classic RTD era Russell T Davies romp story, very much so. And the setting's beautiful. I was kind of surprised. There's a bunch of other YouTubers online who I follow and normally like, and they seem to hate that episode. And the only thing I can think is maybe it's because those guys are a little younger. They're in their 20s or 30s or something, and maybe they hear about Bridgerton a lot more, and they're sick of it or something. They're sick of their girlfriends talking about it or something, or their wives talking about it, or their friends, whatever. Maybe they're just sick of it and they're annoyed by it, whereas I'm just some dude who is aware of Bridgerton. I think I saw one episode once, maybe, but it's not been buzzing in my ear and annoying me or anything. I'm like, oh yeah, there's that show exists. Oh, they're referencing it. That's what Doctor Who does. They reference pop culture. Okay. And so I was just able to watch it and enjoy it for what it was. Ruby mentioned Bridgerton a couple times. That makes sense. She's a 19-year-old girl. Seems like something she'd be into. So I had no qualms with it. I thought it was a really fun, excellent episode. And I think it's Ncudi's other best performance because he gets to really turn on the charm. and be really slick and smart and actually get to do things, which he seems like a lot of episodes in the season, he's kind of hindered from taking action. So I liked how active he was in that story. I gave it an A in my initial review. I dropped it down to an A-, minor thing. It's just like, on rewatch, I am kind of annoyed by the neck cracking of the bird thing. And I know some commenter gave me this like plausible explanation that it's the psychic earrings are making those sounds, because the earrings are magic. They can make her fight, and they can make her expel bird pheromones, and apparently make fake neck cracking noises, all of this stuff. Wow. It still feels like a cheat to me. So, considering what a big problem I had with the cheating of mysteries in the finale, kind of bleeds back and echoes back on this story negatively. So, A-, still an excellent story, has a few flaws. It's a super close, razor-thin edge, number 2, and I constantly bounce back and forth between who got top spot. So you can kind of just think these are both sort of in the first place, but I guess not, because at the end of the day, there is only one. And my heart told me 73 yards. 73 yards is a beautiful episode. I feel like it's the most emotionally moving and philosophically inspiring story in the season. First of all, it's spooky as hell. It's legitimately creepy. It's a great horror story. It's gorgeous. It's the most beautiful looking episode. It's gorgeously shot in this Welsh countryside. And just even when I go to the city, everything feels really nice and premium. I think Millie Gibson gives a great performance. The one downside, of course, is that this is a very Doctor Light story, which made me struggle with putting it in first place, because I love the Doctor. He was probably the biggest highlight of the season, so it's ironic that the top spot episode for this season for me is the one that he shows up the least in. But that's just the way the cookie crumbles. It was an excellent episode. I think Millie Gibson gives a great performance in this. They don't necessarily age her completely convincingly for a period, but like that doesn't matter to me. That was super minor. It just worked really well as a beautiful allegory for me. I took it as this idea that you are your own worst enemy, or you can be your own worst enemy. Your fears and your insecurities, your deep-seated traumas can lead you to drive away the people you love and the people you care about. You know, that's what I took away from it. But then in the comment section, you guys, I mean, thank you. By the way, I didn't mention this at the beginning. This has been quite a journey, and I just want to say thank you to all of you guys, all the viewers, everyone who watched these videos, everyone who subscribes now, everyone who left comments. There are so many thoughtful comments. You know, I wasn't sure how people would be talking on my channel, because I watch a lot of Doctor Who YouTube videos, and the comment section is always a mixed bag of like cool, thoughtful people and really toxic, insane lunatics, right? But for the most part, it's been super positive and super thoughtful, and you guys have such great ideas, and I love listening to all of your theories. Some of you write like your own little essay about your thoughts on it, especially with this episode. 73 Yards had the most in-depth like theories about what had happened and in personal interpretations of what it meant to them. And I just feel like this story really encourages discussion and introspection and thought. I just like that it's ambiguous enough while also trafficking in extremely relatable, specific emotions about loss and rejection and loneliness and fear. And people can pour their own personal meaning into it, which makes it, I think, especially personal and touching for any viewer who opens himself up to investing in the story. And I love that it doesn't have a real explanation at the end. I got nervous when they started talking about 73 Yards in the finale, but fortunately they left it really vague. I wish I hadn't said anything about it, but I like that it's vague and open to your own interpretation, because it is a story that perfectly inspires you to use your imagination to fill in the gaps in a positive way, not in a they left a big plot hole in there, now I got a headcanon in it. But it feels very intentional. It feels like a well-crafted piece of art. So this story gets the top spot in my ranking. I still give it an A-. I gave it an A before. I dropped it an A-. No knock against it, I mean, I guess it is a knock against it. The minus is for a few instances of not completely believable makeup, and I felt like the Robert Ap Williams storyline, while effective and it had a fist pump moment, felt a little generic and underdeveloped. So those give it the minus. But overall, excellent story. Obviously, these are minor qualms. I love the story. It's a classic. Does it go into S tier in my head? We'll let it sit and cook for a while, but it's definitely the most likely contender of this season. And that's it for the ranking. That is my ranking. Did it shock you? Did it upset you? Does it feel exactly right? 100%? That's probably what it is. Let's get into my overall thoughts now. And I'm just going to go over this briefly because, again, like if you want to, like I feel like I've pretty clearly ranted my way through this whole season, and my thoughts are pretty clear if you watch the reviews. But in summary, I don't think this is the worst season of Doctor Who ever. What a way to start a sentence, huh? But it is definitely not the best, or even, I would say, in the top half, unfortunately. I think the highlights are unquestionably Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson, and the guest cast in general is pretty great. And the production values look really great. This is like some of the best Doctor Who I've ever seen visually. The CGI is mostly on point, you know. It has some bangers in it, but I feel like this was kind of a misfire, unfortunately, when you think about what the lofty goals this season was. This is supposed to launch Doctor Who into like Star Wars territory. No joke. This was supposed to put it up alongside Star Wars and Marvel and all the other massive multiverse franchises that Disney Plus has under their belt now. It was meant to do that. And Space Babies wasn't it. That was not the way to launch yourself into the stratosphere and become a new household show in America or globally. I'm sorry. And then to stoke up this very, at the end it just feels like you were trying to stoke the fires of speculation on Twitter and social media, and just writing the story straight from beginning to end without any clear idea of how it's going to turn out, because none of the mystery bits line up at all. And that is extremely disappointing and irritating. Okay? It does not feel like it's in good faith. It doesn't feel like it's genuine. And so you end with a season finale that, while not as bad as Game of Thrones finale, still uncomfortably has several echoes to it. That was not good. Doctor Who fails a lot of times with their finales. Their finales are so all over the map. Some are great, many are bad. This one was pretty bad. And that would be less of an issue if it wasn't for the fact that it's such a short season. So at the end of the day, like if I look at this lineup, I've got 3 great episodes, 2 decent episodes, and 4 bad ones. Almost half of the season is bad, in my opinion. And that's bad. You know what I'm saying? That's bad. That's bad. I can see this underwhelming audiences. I feel like this is not a great start for Doctor Who, which really bums me out, because you get your first Black Doctor and he's amazing, and you're going to do a global launch, and it seems like RTD has never been lazier in his story arc writing. Never been lazier in his villain writing. And his first episode seems like he was, I don't know, taking acid or something. Like, there's no reason. I don't see the logic. These are not unique things I'm saying, by the way. Like, unfortunately, this is kind of the consensus. Not of all of Doctor. There's people who loved it, I'm sure, out there. But, like, the broad consensus from what I'm hearing from, like, real Doctor Who fans, not, like, the fucking hate, not the hate farmers, you know, like the whatever, the guys who just want to traffic in hate and racism and sexism and bigotry, and they love to applaud and celebrate whenever a show that stars a not white person doesn't do well. Not those guys. I'm talking about the real Doctor Who fans who want the show to do well, and they have been watching and covering it and loving it for like a decade. You know, when all those people are unanimously talking about the disappointment they feel, it's not a good sign. But here's what's really frustrating, and also possibly a sliver of hope, but it's both. Is that I see so much potential here. So much potential. You have an amazing cast. You clearly have an amazing production crew, great cinematographers, great VFX artists, great directors, and your guest writers who aren't the showrunner are excellent. I thought Stephen Moffat and Kate Herron and Briony Redmond, like, they did great. They knocked it out of the park. They wrote 2 of my favorite episodes in the story. RTD did write the one that I loved the most. But it almost feels like he put all of his love and attention into that one story, and then a bit more love into Dot and Bubble, and then just banged out the rest of the season in a night. These feel like second drafts, not final drafts, a lot of these scripts. I don't know, has RTD lost it a little bit, maybe? It's disturbing. I thought the 60th anniversaries were overall pretty good. I did not like By Generation at the end, or a few lines of dialogue here and there, but overall, I thought they were pretty solid. I felt like this was kind of a step down from that. And the other thing that's unfortunate is that they are doing this in such a rush, because now they're working for Disney, and Disney's just like, get that content out. We don't care if it makes sense. We don't care if the fans hate it. We'll just badmouth them and keep churning out the product, and that's it. Like, it feels like that. Because of that, season 2 is already filmed. It's already in the can. which means all the complaints and criticisms of the season are not going to affect the next season nearly as strongly as they should. Because I think it is good. If a season is bad, the shows often course correct for the better in the following season. They do listen to the input of the viewers. If everyone's saying that character sucked and this plot decision was bullshit, the next season tries to pave that over, or at least do a better thing that doesn't do that again. You know? The second season is already in the can, which leads me to believe it's going to have the same problems. It's going to have a weird, wonky mystery involving Mrs. Flood that doesn't make sense when you put all the pieces together. It's going to have a weird, overblown finale that ends in a Deus Ex Machina and gives us a smug speech about how we thought it was this, but it was actually that, and maybe you shouldn't invest so much of your time and energy into, theory crafting. You did that. You wanted us to do that. And you... I'm going to go off forever about that, so let's move on from that. But I'm concerned about Season 2 because I think it's going to have a lot of the same flaws as Season 1 because it's already in the can. They can't course correct. My hope is that they will try to course correct as much as possible now that they've gotten the word on how Season 1 was received, and try to make 2, do some reshoots, make a few scenes that make your finale make more sense, clean it up a bit, and just cut out that first episode, that Space Babies adjacent horrible episode you have at the beginning of Season 2. Just cut that out. I'd rather watch 7 quality episodes than 8 episodes to start with such a turd. So my hopes are, I guess, that Season 3, first of all, my hopes are that Ncuti Gatwa will stick around long enough to do a 3rd season and not be either whisked away and stolen by Hollywood, because he's a rapidly rising, obviously very charismatic star. And also, he might just get fed up with the bad response and the mediocre writing of the show. So I'm concerned about that. I would hope he sticks around for a 3rd season, and I would hope that after the criticism they received from this season, they are at least able to course correct and make a stronger, more solid 3rd season. I love Doctor Who. This has not driven me away, by the way. This did not break me the way that some Doctor Who series has, okay? This is not a Matt Smith Season 6 situation. And I'm going to make a video at some point where I'm just going to talk about the times when I quit Doctor Who, because I think there's been three moments in my life where as much as I love Doctor Who, it just hit a point where I was like, I'm out. This season did not do that for me. It was disappointing. It was mediocre. It was kind of weak in a lot of places, but I feel like the core of it, the Doctor and the Companion, is solid. The supporting cast, and there's so much goodness around it, the other writers. I think RTD just needs to sit down and write those drafts and clean them up and rewrite them and clean them up and write his final draft and not be lazy. I think that is the biggest flaw of this season. It feels like Russell T Davies was lazy. But I still have hope for Doctor Who. I don't think it's going anywhere. I think they're going to cancel it or anything. I just pay attention to audience reaction, mainly. The vibe that people have. And the exit interviews were not looking great on this. Man, I sound so like this is such a downer. I don't mean to be such a downer on this. I liked a lot of it, but I got to be honest, it wasn't great. They need to do better. Anyway, I've gone around in circles and ranted about that long enough. That's my overall thoughts on the season. That's my ranking. I really appreciate all the comments and the discourse that you guys have had. I thank you so much for going on this journey with me. This is the first season of any television show ever that I've done a video review series on. So, thanks for bearing with me as I learn the ropes and figure out how to talk good and say what's in my head well, Stay tuned. Of course, there's a lot more coming up. I'm going to do a Romana video coming up because obviously Romana was referenced by Mrs. Flood. I'm going to do a likely candidates of who Mrs. Flood video is. And I've got another secret special ranking video, a silly ranking video that I plan on making in the future. So look out for that as well. And then beyond that, I'm going to be continuing with the classic Doctor Who reviews. Uncounter Experiment is next up. Classic Tom Baker. The story that I was introduced to Doctor Who on, so that's going to be a fun video. And I am going to, at some point, start doing modern New Who reviews, starting with Christopher Eccleston, with Rose. And also, not right now, but maybe at some point in the future, I would like to branch out and cover other media, because I'm a huge nerd. And I like lots of different things. I like Game of Thrones. I like The Expanse. I love Dragon Ball Z. I love anime. There's a lot of different, I love video games. I'm playing Elden Ring right now. There's so many different things that I'm into, not just Doctor Who. But Doctor Who is the core of my nerd being, and I must start with that. But let me know, as I keep going this, feel free to drop a comment if there's anything I mentioned or any other stuff that you think would be cool for me to cover. I also like movies. I could do movie reviews. you know, I'm just playing with this. I mean, the channel's only, what, 9 months old now? We are in early days. But yeah, that's pretty much everything. That's everything I got to say for this video. I just want to say again, thanks to all y'all. Thank you guys so much for watching my videos, for leaving such insightful, excellent, thoughtful comments, and for just being a really cool, positive community on my channel. I'm having a blast here. I was a little worried that it would be weird, but it's actually awesome. And remember, like, subscribe to my channel, ring that bell. And I will be seeing you guys next time in the near future. Yes, but I've rambled enough. So, as always, and until next time, Kay, signing off.